Hi everybody, my name's Danielle and I'll be doing my presentation on technology. From the beginning of my observations, I was surprised by how many computers were in the classrooms I observed. I only graduated 2 years ago and the numbers have increased drastically since I graduated. Oppenheimer once said, "The computer is an interactive tool that can enhance learning in a variety of subjects. It can present and store information, motivate and reward learners, diagnose and prescribe, provide drill and practice, and individualize instruction." Our textbook for this course, Child, Family, School, Community Socialization and Support, stated, "The computer's effectiveness as a tool for learning depends on how it is used by teachers and students as well as the software selected." I wanted to further investigate this theory by observing two different teachers to seeing how their approach on technology affected the students within their classroom. Objectives. I want you all to know the effect technology has on socialization between peers, know how technology affects socialization between students and teachers, and I want you to know the best way to use technology in the classroom. Let's begin. My observations. To begin with, I observed Mr. O'Hara. Mr. O'Hara is a teacher at Capitol High School. He teaches 10th through 12th grade students in the same classroom. He has a variety of races and cultures in his classroom. Mr. O'Hara teaches all of the health classes at Capitol High School, so all of the different ages are all in the same classroom while he teaches. And then I also observed Miss Shade. Miss Shade teaches at Hunter Elementary. She teaches first grade, and she also has a variety of races and cultures within her classroom. So Mr. O'Hara's class is a hybrid class, which means they do all of their work online, whether it's teaching themselves or doing homework assignments or doing tests or quizzes, and Mr. O'Hara does very little lecturing. Their daily routine in the classroom is the students immediately walk in, grab the computers, they sit down, open their computers, log in, and by that time Mr. O'Hara starts to begin his 10-minute lecture. It varies from 5 to 10 minutes whether what they're teaching that day, so he does just a little overview of what they're going to be learning in the classroom that day on their laptops. And then when he's done lecturing, they quietly work alone for the remainder of the time. When the bell rings, they put their computers away and they walk out. And then Miss Shade's class, remember Miss Shade is a first grade teacher. She utilizes iPads and computers during her centers. So she has about 5 groups and 5 centers, and 2 of the centers include some sort of technology. And then the students also go to computer class once a day, and they use technology for indoor recesses. So when it's too cold or smoky or snowy outside, she utilizes her technology within her classroom for that hour. Computers' effects on socialization. So from my observations between peers that technology affects is that the students have less face-to-face contact. So even though for Mr. O'Hara's health class in high school, the students are all in the same class and they're all sitting very close to each other, they have the option of instant messaging each other on the computer. So when they do need to speak to other students, they can quickly type instead of just walk a few feet to talk to them. And then there's no partner projects in his classroom because their online system interacts as a college course. Mr. O'Hara wants it to be as much as college as possible, so he does not do partner projects. And then my observations between students and teachers are that less questions are asked, there's less lecture time, and there's rare interactions between students and teachers. This was very apparent when I was observing both classrooms, but especially the high school class. The students did not ask many questions at all, I think because they can simply Google it on their computers versus walking up and talking to Mr. O'Hara. And then he does not do very much lecture because he wants the students to teach themselves, and there's rare interactions between students and teachers because there's really not any reason that the students have to go up and talk to Mr. O'Hara. Even though there are negatives to having that technology in the classroom on socialization, computers are still important. They help store information, they motivate and reward learners, they provide drill and practice, and they individualize its instruction. I can see positives and negatives for individualizing instruction because the students have to teach themselves, but on the other hand, since they are teaching themselves, they are allowed to go at their own pace, so they're not stuck back with students who might need a little bit more time to learn, and they're not racing through projects and not really fully learning their material. Do computers affect behavior? I absolutely 100% think that technology affects behavior. The students are much more quiet and the students are not interactive with each other. So Mr. Harris' classroom, I kid you not, you could drop a pencil in that classroom and the whole entire class would hear it. His students did not speak during that hour and a half at all during his class. I'm not sure if it was because Mr. Harris is strict on that or because of the technology, but the students did not even seem to want to interact with each other. They were very into their computers when they were working on their assignments. And the students are not interactive with each other. They did not have to ask themselves questions or have to ask themselves to borrow pencils, and they did not have to talk to each other about what they were working on. They were just very engaged with their computers during that class time. Why use technology in classrooms? So I believe that computers prepare students for future education and future careers. They cannot lose papers. It creates interactive learning, and it's more enjoyable for students. So it prepares students for future education and careers, I think, significantly, because when I was in Mr. Harris' classroom, it was very obvious that they were actually using the same exact website that I use for one of my classes. It's a LearnSmart website that you can do everything online, and I use that for one of my science classes, and they were using the same exact system. They can't lose papers. This was great because Mr. Hara has all of his students type everything through their Google account, and supposedly Google account saves everything as you type, so each letter you type, it immediately saves. It's impossible to lose papers, and it's impossible for students to forget to save it because it does that immediately. I did see a student come up and try to tell Mr. Hara that his computer lost his assignments, but Mr. Hara showed the teacher how that's actually impossible, and they can't get away with cheating in that classroom. Creates interactive learning with the computers and the students, not with the students and each other. Creates an interactive learning because it goes at that student's pace individually, and then it's more enjoyable for students. I did think that all of the students in Mr. Hara's class seemed a lot more happy to work on a computer than what they would be working on paper. And then for Miss Shade's first grade class, the students' favorite center was always the technology. So phones and iPods are still technology, even though this is mostly about computer. I just wanted to bring up the fact that phones and iPods are distracting in classrooms and they are used for cheating. Mr. Hara did not allow phones and iPods in his classroom, but I could see many phones and iPods below their tables when they were trying to hide it from Mr. Hara, and it did create a distraction from their assignment because they were often looking down and not in front of them. And it's used for cheating. I did not see this in Mr. Hara's class, but I know from my experience in school that technology can definitely be used for cheating. And then I did not see any problems with phones and iPods in Miss Shade's first grade classroom, probably because those children did not have phones and iPods. Computer positives. So for my observations, the positives from technology is that it's impossible to lose papers, students are engaged, prepare students for colleges, and students are in charge of getting their own work done. I like this because the students are allowed to log into their systems at home so they can get their work done. There's no excuses for getting their books or assignments in school. It's always available for them. And then it obviously prepares students for colleges. I guess Mr. Harris' class is so much like a college course that next year the students will be getting a college credit for the course, and I think that's very awesome. And then computer negatives from my observations. It's very difficult to monitor students on the computers. I think that this is the #1 negatives for computers because Mr. Harris walked around his classroom through the majority of his class, but from my angles, what I could see was a lot of students were on Facebook or were Googling answers they shouldn't be, or they were on a music site. So it was really, really hard for Mr. Harris to be able to see what every single student's website looked like at that time. And then very little student-to-teacher interaction. I think that this is a very big negative because one of the most exciting things that I'm looking forward to as being a teacher in the future is to be able to interact with the next generation and have an influence on them. But when classrooms are so much impacted by computers, I think the students are actually more impacted by the computers than the teachers. And then it changes the way children think. This is also, I think these are all very big negatives. This is also a large negative because students are not capable of looking up anything without their laptops in this day and age. So students in Mr. Harris' class actually did not even have the opportunity to use a book because everything was online. And then they were not allowed to go and look at anything in the library. Everything they did was on their laptop, and I think that that's sad because they did not get to work for their answers. It was very easy for them to just Google everything. And then it negatively impacts socialization in the classroom. I have never seen a more quiet classroom than the classroom that I observed in Mr. Harris' class. I just think that because the students knew that everything they had to work with was on the laptops, that there was no excuse to turn to one another and speak. It was just very, very silent. So I think to keep computers beneficial, teachers definitely need to monitor students while on computers. I one time took a class where my professor had all of our screens on his screen so he could see what we were all doing. I know Mr. Harris didn't do this, but I think this is a very good recommendation for teachers to use while their students are on the laptops. You need to build relationships with your students. So even though you may not be as engaged with your students or teaching your students as often, I think that you still need to make a point to walk around and get to know your students and let them know if they need help, you are there. And then teachers need to be familiar with the technology. If the teacher doesn't know the technology, the teacher cannot help the students with their technology. Check on learning. So what I want you guys to do is to choose 3 of these. There's 5 questions here. I want you to choose 3 of these, and I want you to write 1 paragraph explaining your thoughts about the question. I think the most easy way to do this is for you guys to just write the question in the comments, the 3 questions in the comments, and then write your answers underneath the question, and then I will comment on that and let you know how you did. Or you may also print off a PDF of the slide. I'll attach it, and then you can, if you prefer writing, you're more than welcome to write it and then scan it and send it on over to just attach it to your comments, and then I'll open it and I'll also respond to that. I just want to see what you guys, if your views have changed a little bit on your views of technology in the classrooms and how I helped impact you for your future teaching careers. All right, and that's the end. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.